As always, this week has been a tough week. I think every week is just sort of like you're climbing a mountain.
Yeah, it's like COVID. I think COVID definitely exacerbates it all. But for me, anyway, I just finished university, 5 years.
Yes, congratulations. And you have a birthday coming up.
Yes, next week.
Yeah.
A
she
lot
accepts
of things.
Donations, cash,
Patreons. No, but it's definitely a lot. Like I'm turning 23. That's a big one. I feel like 20 is like your child. 21, 22, 23. It's like basically 25.
Yeah,
25
I think
is basically 30.
Well, I think especially for you, I think it could have been 22 had you graduated last year. But I think
I took an extra
the coinciding of you graduating and your birthday too, and it's just sort of like the world is your oyster now. Now you have to think about what do you want to do.
Yeah,
and
I think also I've been going through a lot of. I feel like the first thing you think of is like, what do you want to do in life? Like, what do I want to do? And I feel like where I'm at right now is more like, who do I want to be? Like who is a person I want to wake up every day? I want to feel good, and I want to feel like I'm, as much as I want to find my life's purpose and, enjoy the work I do, but I think I first want to enjoy the person I am. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where I've been a lot. And it's like more of a spiritual journey of, what is it? What are the qualities I want to, grow, and the habits I want to have, and the person I truly want to be. So that's been a big thing. But also, like the fact of, going out and looking for jobs, or right now I'm taking a year off, so not so much jobs, more I think I'm giving myself that time to figure myself out. But definitely a lot of worry, especially with my parents, like obviously want me to get a job and use my degree.
There's a German writer from the 1800s, I think, or 1900s, Goethe. And
what's his name?
Goethe. I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be butchering it. But his one invocation, his one demand for anyone to figure out their life and to be successful is know thyself. Yeah. Know thyself. That was the only commandment that you have.
That's the biggest thing. It's like everyone wants to be happy, and obviously happiness is great, but I think that shouldn't be the main thing, because if you choose, let me rephrase that. I think happiness comes as a byproduct from being who you want, fulfilling what you want to do, working the job you want, or being the person you want, being with the people you want. I think that's a byproduct, and that's happiness is a byproduct. But I think the bigger thing that we should want, or myself I want, is to truly feel like I'm going in the path that I should. I guess, I don't know if, like silly little spiritual things, but I identify with this a lot, where it's like sometimes, like recently for the past couple months, I've been feeling pretty off. And it's like, I feel like I know I'm not on the path I should be. And like, when you feel good, I feel like you're aligned with what you're doing, and you're aligned with your truest self. And I feel like I'm definitely not there. Like, I'm not who I'm meant to be. I'm very negative right now. I'm not very happy. I'm lazy. I go on Instagram a lot. I'm not very passionate. And I can feel that's not who I'm meant to be. So it's like,
but in some ways it's a good wake up call, and I think it tells you that you have a true north, or at least you have some direction
for sure
laid out, because the person who's doing that unconsciously and is not thinking and just goes from day to day is going to wake up later on.
Like, I was reading the Unfuck Yourself book, and he was saying, like, it's amazing that you can live a life that you're so unhappy in and be okay. And it's like, imagine if you lived that life that you wanted to. And it's like, you could go every day. Like, I fully could be fine going every day, chilling, hanging out with friends, watching Netflix, going on Instagram. Do I feel happy? Do I feel, content and purposeful and have meaning? Hell no. But I can live my life like this. Do I want to? No, I want something more in life. I want to feel happy and healthy and, energetic and excited for the day, even though I'm stuck in lockdown. Life can always be worse, but I'm in this position where I'm able to have that time to do all this stuff and feel better in myself. And it's like, why not use that time? Why not like try and find that true north, and like know that I don't have to wake up every day, and like I'm in full control, but it's definitely harder. Like I think the breakdowns and things like that have definitely, in a way, makes it difficult, but it also makes you feel like there is change happening. I'm uncomfortable right now. Like, there's definitely a lot of uncomfort happening. Yeah. Like, seek discomfort, like seek that growth and change. And even though it isn't comfortable, it's like, that there's something bigger brewing.
Yeah.
Sorry, one more thing. I was watching this YouTuber, I think I told you about this before, but he was saying how like there's a thing called like bamboo growth. And it's like, you can be growing and growing.
Want to give him a shout out?
Yeah, well, us.
If he's watching,
he's like 500,000 subscribers. I think it's Heinz. His name is in hindsight. I'm pretty sure
he has a good aesthetic. Yeah.
No, it's just the things he says is like genius. Like, he's so like wisdomous, and I don't know if that's a word, but
wise.
He's very wise, as I am.
Look at that.
It's okay. But basically, he's saying there's a thing called bamboo growth, and like you can be growing and growing and growing and never see anything, because like bamboo grows like the roots and it'll grow for like 3 years before it shoots up. And it's like that's what we can be doing, is like growing internally and not realizing, like feeling the same older feeling like we're not changing. Like when you work out and you don't see the results or something like that, it's like you can't see it, but then at one point you just shoot up, and it's just like all your growth just shows at that moment. And it's like I feel like that's what I've been doing a lot for the past like 6 months, is like a lot of bamboo growth, a lot of underlying difficult sorting of listening to myself and listening to my intuition and listening to what I really want. And I hope that all that work and, as I keep going, will show in who I am and how I act as a person each day, how I show up for myself.
Yeah. It's funny. There's like an analog, bring it back to Speakeasy sometimes, which I always do, but it's like you feel like you're putting in a lot of the hours right now and like it's not being recognized, it's not being shown.
Yeah.
And it's like sort of to what you're feeling, like in the sense that you're doing a lot of work, but it's not as visible. It's not as seen by people.
Yeah.
And the work is there. The foundations are there and people will recognize it. And at one point you'll feel it as well. But I think that's the toughest part, like knowing that you're on a journey and that it takes time to cross that bridge.
For sure.
And a lot of people won't acknowledge it and won't respect it until you're like, oh shit, now she's like this person, she has her stuff together, she has X job, or she's doing this and she's living the life which I love. That's only when people recognize it, but they don't see all that hard work.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's like with Speakeasy, like people, who knows down the road if this thing were to blow up, which would be amazing, but it's like, I don't know. And it's like, it looks nice maybe on the outside if that were to be the case, but it's like, you don't know what it's like to doubt yourself and to think you've made the wrong decision every single day and not make any money and be putting out things and they get 20 likes, 30 likes. And it's like,
not even.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't know.
Patreon down below, guys.
You don't know what the journey is and what it's going to take you. And it's like,
for sure,
it's precarious. And like, that's not sexy. What's sexy is like being Conor McGregor walking out and knocking someone out. What's not sexy is waking up 5 in the morning.
Getting beat up.
No, what's not sexy is like being in the gym at 5 in the morning and busting your ass off and no one's there.
Earlier, just like hours and hours of work.
And that's life. Life is like,
life is the grind. Yeah.
That's Michael Jordan. You get a sliver of amazingness and a shit ton of hard work and a shit ton of unrecognized just hustling.
But I think when you realize that the hard work is part of the journey, because I think so much of us want to, like, I'm big, that's one of my problems, is that I always see myself as how I want to be. Like, I want to be that fit, happy person who's drinking green smoothies every day, eating salads, feeling good about herself, being happy and whatever. But in reality, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and just be that person. I'm going to work every day, feel like shit, come back, be a little bit better, go back, cry a little bit more, maybe hate myself a bit, then love myself. It's like, it's going to be this bumpy, big, twisted ride that it's like, hopefully, eventually, all my hard work will get me to a place that it will be easier to grow. Yeah. But right now, I'm doing a lot of the groundwork. I'm doing a lot of those things that I've been, pushing to the sidelines, every time I felt something, put on Netflix or, do something that numbs the pain. And it's like, right now I'm taking care of everything that past Lidor said future Lidor will handle. Yeah. And here I am handling
It's like you're looking at like a skateboard ramp and you see someone on the other side and you're like, oh, that's where I'm going. And you don't realize how much to get there, you have to go all the way down and you have to know what the hell you're doing when you climb up. And it's like, when you look at someone on that mountain, you're like, that doesn't look bad. Having 200,000 subscribers, 500,000 subscribers doesn't look bad. But like for that person who started off and maybe was nobody and no one was viewing it, like Gary Vee, like there's a video compiling, he probably did over 1,000 or like 2,000 YouTube videos. And who knows, these things got 30 views, 50 views, 100 views, a couple thousand. And it's like everyone today is dying to get his attention. Everyone wants to have some type of connection with him to get him to promote something, to blast something. And it's like, this guy was nobody for 10 years and hustled his ass off and built up a company and like grinded every single day. And I love
what he says is like, love the journey,
You got to. That's the only thing that brings you to it.
It's like you got to just do everything in your power to, where am I going with this? I don't know.
Essentially, you have to love that journey because the thing is like, the success is like gravy on top. Like the main course is what you're doing every day. Writing, for me, writing and researching and interviewing people and having intellectual discussions, that's the main course. The gravy is that, okay, maybe if people buy in and enjoy it, then they will pay me. But what's not going to keep me motivated, not going to keep me climbing every single day is the idea that, because like when I put out something and it gets 10 likes, like, fuck, this has ruined my day. Instead of it being like, you know what, first of all, I learned another data point about what some people like and don't like.
10 people like my things. I'm reaching out, like, how many times can you say, like, 10 individuals have looked at this and who knows what they got? Or when you say like 40 people came on my website, it's like, when you think about it with the mass of the internet where you see millions of people viewing this and viewing that, it's like 40 individuals. That's 40 people with 40 different lives going through 40 different things. That is pretty huge. And it's just like also realizing that what you're doing, like I think both of us thought that you always see, like we say, we look at the internet and we see all these people rising up, but you never see the grind. And it's like, I think you're just realizing that there's more of a grind to it and there's more of an everyday thing.
The grind is the majority of it.
Exactly. It's like you're not going to get 1,000 or 100,000 subscribers or followers or whatever.
Like you're going to eat shit. Like your diet is essentially going to be considered mostly shit until you are at the end of that journey. You got to love eating that shit. So hopefully that shit is like research and editing and writing for me. And like for you, it's like nature and conservation and
just
animals.
Like I think like I'm still figuring my shit out, but
but it's like we live in a society. I don't think we live in a society. I think technology has made society believe that success is overnight. Like I just discover Gary Vee and everything looks awesome. I discover Conor McGregor and life looks really clear. But it's like you don't know that McGregor was on social welfare and he was a plumber. Yeah, the guy busted his ass and he's a salesman. He's a great talker and a good fighter. And it's like, you don't understand that journey. That journey, You weren't there every day. You don't understand.
Or like my favorite guy, David Goggins. Yeah. You don't see that. You see the hard ass. Well, he actually talks about it a lot, but you see the hard ass,
ripped the killer guy.
Insane. But you don't see the fat guy who couldn't swim, failed his Navy SEAL test.
The first time he ran, he couldn't go past his block and he's 300 pounds and hated his life. And was
you don't see any of that. Or like, the kid. Or like in his book, amazing book, which we reviewed in TLDR. But like he got abused as a child and had a hard ass dad. But you don't see any of that. You see the guy he is today on talk shows saying all this stuff. But it's like it takes hard work to show up every day and be that killer.
It's like he didn't do it to write a book and to be on Joe Rogan. He did it for himself. He did it because he loved busting his ass and changing his life.
I don't think he loved it at first. I think that
not at first, but he recognized that what he was doing was unsustainable and it was not where he wanted to be.
I think it comes down to, like I always say, you can show everyone the door. You can show everyone how great it is. Like when David Goggins speaks, I'm sure people watching are like, I'm so pumped, whatever. You can show people that, but unless people want to walk through that door and take on that journey, which is every day showing up for yourself, showing up as that person that you want to be, nothing's ever going to change. And that's something that you learn. Like I've learned that the hard way time and time again, where either it's been school, procrastinating and saying I'm going to be better next time, or, not doing something that I know is bad for me. It's like, you're always going to have that time where it's like you fall back and it's like, you can fall back and stay down or you come up again. And it's like always just getting back up. Because there's always going to be something that tears you down. Life,
right. And that's that Thomas Edison quote. Like, how many of life's winners or how many of life's failures did not realize they were one failure away from success? Yeah. And it's that's like, who's the one who's going to climb up one more fucking time? Who's the person who's going to dust themselves off and be like, you know what? I'm just not going to quit. Like, and that feels like me every single day, like, or every week. I feel like I get knocked down again. And just get up one more time and see what happens. And like, maybe in 100 weeks, maybe when your chin is better and maybe when you know how to do your stuff better, maybe then you can stand up on your own for a little bit. But it's like, it's going to suck. Like, the thing is that if it was easy, then everyone would be doing it.
100%. And it's like I said, like Gary Vee always says, like, you got to love the journey. It's like, even though the journey sucks sometimes, it's like, you got to know that you're doing it for a bigger purpose. And in that, you'll love it, like, it's just, there's no easy way around it.
And that was why this week, like when I was doubting myself, I started looking on LinkedIn and Indeed and looking at those job postings, and we'll read them for you in another podcast. But it was just like, that's the motivation. When I see a job posting like that, I get panic attacks about like when I was at TD, and I was thinking like, this is not my journey. This is not where I want to be. And I'm sure better make sure that Speakeasy works in some way.
Well, I tell you, even if Speakeasy, let's just say, didn't work out, I think that just having these experiences and knowing what you like and what you don't like, even if you had to go get a job, at least knowing what you enjoy, is just the most important. It's like, I feel like life, people feel like they have to, obviously if you're making something and you want to succeed, yeah. But I'm saying when you know and you have that time, like you are very fortunate to have the time and the place. Like you can live rent free at your parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
You can,
thanks, Mom, Dad.
you can, spend that extra cash instead of, buying a computer or whatever. Like you have that ability to work on this, even if it doesn't come of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you have that time. Thankfully, I'm young and I'm able to wait on this schlub until he can afford a house. I will have to
I'll be a house husband. I'm fine with that.
Okay, but just working on taking forever. But like, honestly, like you have those times. So it's like, stop worrying about what it is that you're missing out on and the cool stuff or whatever.
The gadgets
or even the travels. Like, obviously you want to travel and want to enjoy, but it's like, focus on your path right now. If this is what you feel like, this is what I always say, and maybe this can help someone too. It's like, if this is what you feel like you got to be doing and you're able to, obviously you're not like, you need other things and you want to stick. If this is something you're able to do right now, stick to it. Give yourself that time to see it through and just listen to yourself. Because I feel like people like mull over their intuition so much and they go through life thinking like, logically, what should I do? What should I do? But sometimes when you just feel your gut and say, is this right? Does this feel right to me right now? In your heart of hearts, is this the right thing to do? You'll get all the answers you need. Because I feel like for so long I've been a victim of trying to find answers from other people or outside sources and trying to figure out what it is I should do in my life from other people, when in reality, I am the one who has to tell myself what I want to do. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one living with those decisions. So it's like, it's good to talk to people, but at the end of the day, you're the one who knows what you should be doing. And if this is something you feel like you should be doing right now, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, that's the most clarifying. Like when I looked at those job descriptions, I was like, nothing looked good. Like everything looks like bullshit. Everything looks like it's just how Alan Jackson says in that song that I quoted, getting paid by the hour and older by the minute. Yeah. Like just killing time for a paycheck.
Yeah, who wants to live like that?
And it's like,
unless you have to.
Shit. Yeah, it's just like that stuff wakes you up, because whenever you think you're having a bad day or whatever, I think about if I had no freedom and if I was working for someone else doing that stuff, which I hated.
That's like, already that path. You know what you've been through. It's like, why go back to that?
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah, I feel like
it's obviously, it's hard.
Who knows in 20 years how everything's going to look and from what perspective, and who knows what will be built. But it's like right now, you can only live for right now, and it's like, you can only make decisions that you feel are right. Like you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But it's like being smart, being logical, and being aware of what you want. It's a balance between what do I feel and what do I think. Yeah, and it's tough because like in some ways maybe it makes it easier because you're like, there's no alternative. Like this thing has to work out. Not like in the sense that like it has to be financially sustainable, but it's like I have to put my best foot forward with this. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to come up with something else because there's no way I'm going back there. Yeah. And like I'll kill someone before I have to go back that way. Yeah. And I'll die before I have to go back that way. And it's like 100%. I love that attitude. I don't know if I have that attitude enough. I think you're growing with it. Yeah, but I think I love killers like that. Like people who are just like David Goggins, who will die on a marathon until he does it. It should make you feel very good that he wasn't born like that. He had to work tirelessly and go through countless of failures to get to that point. So it's like, it should make you feel good that every time you fail and you get back up and you go and redo whatever schedule or reach out to other people. It's like you are there. You're on that journey to getting to be your most authentic self and knowing what you want and being that killer if that's who you want to be. Yeah, I just love those killer personalities in the sense that it doesn't matter what is stacked against them. Like it doesn't matter with Michael Jordan. Like it doesn't matter if he's playing 5 people against one person. The guy is going to be busting his ass every single thing. He's going to try to push the limit of whatever his body can do, whatever his mind can do. And it's just like that mentality. Like, I don't know if you teach it. I don't know if you learn it. Some people are predisposed to it or not. Oh, yeah. Some people, I think, but it's just like, holy shit. Like, when you see that, you feel like you're in the presence of greatness. You feel like you're in the presence of someone who you want to be stuck on. Yeah, you want to, like, if I'm stuck in a desperate situation, I want to be with David Goggins or Michael Jordan because these guys are not going to quit. Oh, no, they're going to find a way out. Like, versus someone who's going to bemoan their situation, like maybe I do too often, or like be like, oh, poor you. Versus someone who's like, I don't give a fuck. Like I'm going to walk right through it. Like I think I mentioned this earlier, that I was reading Unfuck Yourself. And one of the things he was saying is like, there's so many things that you can blame
your life on. Like for me, it was myself, like my mentality and thinking like, oh, I'm so sad and I'm so, like things are so hard and, it's hard. I should give myself that space. And even you were telling me this, and sometimes it's easier to read it on a book than from someone you love. But regardless, one and the same, that it's like sometimes we blame all our things on outside. Obviously there are things that are hard for people where it's like, you don't have money, you don't this. But at the end of the day, whatever your situation is, you can always rise above it. You can always work harder to be a little bit better. And I think that is really true for anyone and everyone. Whoever wants it will get it.
Yeah. And that's the Conor McGregor quote, which I love, "Doubt me now." Like the guy who was a plumber, who was unemployed and who was not winning in life, found a way not only to win, to be the number one most recognizable athlete in the world.
And he worked his ass off. I don't doubt it that he woke up probably 5 a.m. every morning and trained.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it that he spent countless nights training.
Think about the pressure he was on. Think about that you wake up and you train knowing that someone can take your head off.
Also, the next day you're about to get your I don't understand people do UFC. It's like you are actually insane that you want to go and you feel, I guess they don't feel fine, they're probably stressed, but it's like you're ready to take on someone who's going to beat you. You are going to beat them.
His goal is to beat you.
Are going to beat you into a living pulp. Your blood is going to be on the ground. You're going to show bone. Like, who in their right mind's like, sign me up. Sign me up. It's insanity.
But I think
that's
it shows you. Like,
it shows you when it's someone.
And I love that because that's, I think that's what I would love Speakeasy to be, or to highlight it, is the indomitable human spirit.
Yeah.
The ability for humans to transcend their situations.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what skin color you are, what class you are, where you come from. Francis Ngannou, who is he's a UFC fighter from, I believe it's the Congo, maybe. He worked in sand mines, like literal sand mines out there, and I think tried to get to Europe several times, both saying it didn't work out, and he eventually did it. And it's like, this guy, of course, he's a freak of nature. Like, he's just like jacked and huge.
But you also have that mentality.
Yeah, he's not, like, he could have been stuck over there, but the guy kept on. It's like, can you imagine the mountain the guy had to climb? And, like, good for him that he's like there now, and like amazing. Like, look at that, and you know what he is? He's the happiest. Like, if you listen to him speak, he's so soft spoken, so chill, and it's like, that's fucking humility. Like, there's people who are so resentful and angry for other people's success, and like this guy had every card stacked against him, and he's like, you know what? I'm just on my journey.
If that doesn't pump you up, and if that doesn't make you feel like you can do anything, like right now, I feel like I'm so fortunate compared to so many people, and it's like I still have the balls to wake up sometimes, and obviously, not discrediting mental health and all that, but for myself, I can only speak. It's like I wake up and obviously I have hard days and my mind is stacked against me, but it's like the fact of the matter is, it's like I'm able to change my perspective. I'm able to get up and do something that's meaningful to me, and it's like it's insane that.
Yeah, and I don't buy into people sometimes who bemoan their situations, and there's too much of an emphasis of like, it's not your fault today. Like, there should be like an emphasis of like, take control. You own your decisions.
I think it's important to be kind to yourself. I think that a lot of.
So I think there's so much grievance and resentment that's being like, oh, I was born in this situation. I was born with this skin color, and it's like, if you listen to a lot of those guys, like Michael Jordan, they don't talk about that because like they understand how many hours of work they put into it to get to where they were.
They know they deserve what they.
Not only do they deserve it, they worked harder than anybody else.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They deserved it because they put in that time.
Yeah, and it's like, the feature which makes them unique is not superficial, but it's intellectual. It's like, what is in their head?
Well, that's what it comes down to.
You put Michael Jordan's brain into my brain, and then I become Michael Jordan. Like, it's not necessarily your circumstances entirely.
Yeah.
It partly maybe, but it's like, what is the differentiator? The differentiator is someone who is a dog. Gary Vee is a dog.
Someone who won't quit.
Yeah, Michael Jordan is a dog. These people, it just doesn't matter what you put in front of them. They're going to eat it, and they're going to keep on going. And it's like...
It's powerful. I think...
It's like, where are you on that journey? And how are you pushing yourself? You obviously don't have to be Gary Vee overnight.
But I'm saying, I think there's a big thing where it's like, people feel like they have to be this. And it's like, there are going to be times when I'm sure these people felt defeated and wanted to quit. But it's like being able to show up for yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. Being kind to yourself and being aware that, yes, there are tough times. And not saying you're fucking stupid for feeling bad and all that. Because that's not what it should be. It should be, I'm stronger than this. It should be showing up for yourself as who you are and saying, like, I can give myself kindness and still work my ass off. Yeah. I'm sure these people didn't beat themselves endlessly. They just had to have a strong-ass mentality. A very, very strong mental dialogue saying, I am better than this. Because I think a lot of why people feel bad is because they feel bad about themselves and they put it out into the world saying, I'm not worth it, I'm stupid, I'm weak, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. And it's like, that kills you. That kills you. That kills not only how you think is how you perceive the world. And if you think like shit, the world will be shit.
Yeah.
It's changing your mentality, and that's why it's so important. I think shifting yourself.
And I think that's why you need mentors and people around you
100%.
Who can support you, because it's not a one-person journey.
And it's not something someone can go through by themselves.
And that's why Paul Graham, like from Y Combinator, which I've spoken about before, who's like, it's an innovation fund. It's probably one of the most reputable innovation funds in the world for startup companies in Silicon Valley. The one rule that he has, or one of the major rules he has for investing in startups is there a partner? Because doing this journey on your own is damn impossible. Like if you doubt yourself, you're always going to doubt yourself. There's going to be low points. There's going to be points where you really, really want to close shop, and you need someone there who's like, hold up 1 second. I'm with you. I feel the vision of this. I can help you bring this along. But
yeah, just even like in personal life, like I was talking to a friend and they were having a really hard time, and it's just like life is not fair to them. They were having tough times, and they were saying how, when I was having a tough time, our other friend was there, and they were saying like, things are hard, obviously, but you're so fortunate. And they're saying it's easy for you to say because you have someone you can fall back on and talk to this.
Yeah.
But they were in their mind alone, even though, you say, oh, we're here for you, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like they feel like they're marginally alone because they have no one to fall back to. Like I can wake up at 5 a.m. and if I called him and he was awake, he would answer and speak to me for as many hours as I need and be there and talk to me. It's like, that is the rock you need. And it's tough. And whether that's a significant other or a family member or a friend, it's like you need that rock because you can't a lot of the times do it alone. It's hard when you're stacked up against yourself. Like sometimes you're your worst enemy.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I think Gary Vee also says that, like, he was very fortunate. Like, I think how his parents raised him, that they encouraged his entrepreneurial
and they were
bends.
there for him.
Yeah, and I think he also was, first of all, he probably was predisposed to it. I think he also grew up in a family environment where they were entrepreneurs and immigrants. And his wife is very understanding. Like, his hours are crazy. And he talks about how, like, his wife is one of the very few people who would understand his work obligations. And it's like, and you need someone who's simpatico who works with you in that regard, because if you don't have someone there, there's going to be tension. You're going to be,
it's presentable.
Because if you're in this headspace of like, you want to be the best person you want to be, not to shit on people, but a lot of people wake up and it's garbage in, garbage out. People
100%.
go to the same job every day and they do the same thing every single day.
Sometimes you have to do it out of necessity, but I think a lot of the times people do it out of comfort. Like, a
lot of people out of comfort and fear of doing the unknown,
risky,
and embracing uncertainty and risk and making a fool out of yourself. And the thing is that it's hard for them to understand that journey, because if I was working at a bank and I was cashing comfortable checks, I wouldn't be able to step off and be in your mindset. We live in two different worlds. Someone who's working on building a media company and whatever is totally different. And so you need someone who's in your corner and who loves you and who can give you hard truth. Like if you, for instance, like one of the first articles we ran, I had over edited something. And I remember asking you and you were like, yeah, you actually over edited that. Like I would go back and like, I would do it differently.
Well, I ended up talking first.
Right. Exactly. And it was important because
it's just like
if I didn't have that there, it could have just been an echo chamber in my head of like, no, this person's an asshole. He doesn't understand. He's not grateful. Whereas it's like, now that I know that someone who I trust has my best interest at heart, is telling me, hey, you know what? I think you may have mishandled this one. Okay, I can take a step back now. I can revise my course of action. It's also
someone you trust and it's not out to get you. Because like that's also important, trust.
Yeah, mentorship is, I think,
like
important.
Trusting your mentor and knowing that they have your best intentions, even if that's like, I feel like therapy would be helpful if you have no one.
Yeah,
probably like just having someone you can trust and talk to. Right. Because it's like there's always going to be. Is the right saying making a mountain out of a molehill? Is that
making
the right saying? Making a mountain out of a molehill, no?
Mountain.
Is that right? Because I was thinking about it and I'm like, something... Oh, my phone's ringing.
No, you're right, actually. Is
that the right way to say it right now?
Yes. Because a molehill is... No,
that's a proverb, right?
It could be, but I think it's actually correct, because a molehill is small and a mountain is massive. So making a small issue a massive issue.
Yeah, well, maybe that's not the right way of saying it then. Maybe that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I thought it was something different.
But it's funny because you were saying that people don't have anyone to talk to, and I was working on this article, which I'm going to be releasing hopefully the next couple of weeks, on friendship.
Oh, yeah.
And they did this study, and they found that basically consistently for the last several decades in the United States, only about 10% of Americans didn't have any confidants, people who they could confide in and speak to. And they found that in 2004, it spiked to about 25% of people. So almost a quarter that didn't have a confidant. Mm-hmm. Eventually, I think it has since receded, but I
thought we were a loneliness epidemic.
Well, so the statistics are a little more confusing and complicated, but the academics, when they looked at it again, they still concluded that we are living in a more lonely and more detached time. People, for instance, live alone and live by themselves at higher rates than they ever have, like predominantly higher rates or astronomically higher rates. People interact more so predominantly online, especially younger generations.
Living vicariously through online, especially now.
And there's research that shows that people who interact online, have friendships online, generally have those wither, and they're very superficial. They're not as strong as in-person bonds.
For sure.
And so the problem is, how do you get motivation from watching YouTube hype videos or videos, so but it's like
dwindling. It's like,
yeah, but it's like, it's not, I don't think that's enough nourishment to get you through everything. And so how do you go from a society which is declining in in-person social interaction, but you need that interaction to build great things and to work?
I think it's also comes down to a point where I feel like when you grow, I guess it depends on your situation if you really have no one, but it's like, I've been someone who's had friends, in and out, and it's like coming to the conclusion where it's like choosing a couple of good friends. Like I think I have 3 friends, seriously. And it's like, I love each and every one of them, and I can talk to each and every one of them about anything and everything I can ever imagine. Any problems, anything. And it's like, I'd rather have 3 friends than 5, 10, 20 friends that I can't speak anything about and feel uncomfortable with. And it's like, I find that to be a problem for a lot of people when I talk to my friends about it. They say like, yeah, I hang out with this person. And I'm like, I don't really like it or whatever. It's like, life is too short to be with people that you don't care about. So it's like, or not care about, but not super comfortable or like being there for you. It's like, that's also a big thing. It's like having people, it's like, even though you might not have a significant other or someone you can speak to closely, it's like having someone that you feel like comfortable where you can talk about problems or talk about wanting to grow or be different and things like that. It's I think very important.
Yeah. And it's funny, there's something called Dunbar's number. It's a very famous research paper that was created by this guy named Robin Dunbar, who's I believe, professor in the UK. He's actually said that cognitively, there's a limitation of how many names and people we can remember.
It's like 100,
150, somewhere between 100 and 200.
Do you think we'll have like 100 friends? I can't imagine.
But in terms of family, acquaintances, and so basically
like everyone in your life.
Yeah, so it sort of is transposed from when we're thinking about like tribal life. Like you sort of have an immediate
like a community,
clan or kin. And you have sort of friends, then acquaintances, like and a larger tribe and everything. Right, and so you usually have probably 3 or 4 people you're very close with. Then you have a couple of people sort of a little more friendly with. Yeah. A heck of a lot of acquaintances and very, very distant,
like just people
friends who you might have known like on Facebook friends, for instance. And like it doesn't matter, even with the advent of online communities and Facebook, we still don't remember that many names.
Yeah,
and
you
don't
can't
like, for
personally
instance, if you
know that many people and be a strong friendship, because it's like
on your Facebook. Sorry to interrupt you, but on your Facebook, if I don't know how many friends you have, but if you look at all your friends, how many people do you think you could tell me what's going on in their lives?
I have 3 friends, I'm telling you. That's how many people I can tell you are going on in their lives.
Right. And then how many people you genuinely recall how you know them and like where they're from?
No, I'm pretty good with faces. I feel like I would know that. But it's more just like remembering where you're from. And also, I don't add random people on Facebook.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think it comes down, there's a really good line from a song, Live Like You're Dying. Who's that by?
Tim McGraw.
Yeah. He says, like, he's talking about how this guy he knew
he's got a cancer
diagnosis or some type of thing.
Or scare,
and he was saying, like, all these things, like, how would you live? And he says, like, one of the things is be a friend would like to have. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that echoes in my mind. That is something that has stuck with me so much, because it's like, so much of the time we want to receive, and things are sometimes so one-sided where it's like you talk about your problems and you talk about whatever. It's like, be that person that someone would want to have, someone that listens to you and is there for you and truly wants to help you, have the greatest intentions. And I think in my mind, just about friendship, that echoes in my mind all the time of how I act with my friends and the people that I would want to surround myself with.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I think that is a very clarifying way of looking at it. And not to give away too much of the article, but it comes to David Brooks's point of view when it comes to friends and eulogy virtues versus resume virtues. Yeah. And he says that so much in life is emphasized, whether it's school, whether it's the books we read, it all comes down to eulogy it all comes down to resume virtues in terms of are you getting the most out of your career? Are you making the most amount of money? Are you the most successful you can be?
Well, it's just the most vain things. It's how we see the world now with Instagram and TikTok.
Right.
It's how do you show yourself to the world?
Whereas the most important things that people will talk about you, generally speaking, are what type of person you are, the eulogy virtues he talks about, the deeper meanings. And he said, like, there's a problem in society where we espouse a lot of these eulogy virtues. You should be a good husband. You should be a good daughter, whatever it is. But we don't actually live with that. Like, we can espouse them very easily, but very few people actually actively try to live that and cultivate that. And it's much easier to pursue your career. That's much more legitimate. Like, for instance, you don't say, sorry, I can't make that business call or I can't do that meeting because I'm hanging out with my family. It's very much so like, hey, mom and dad, I have a business meeting now. So like, and you accommodate that schedule.
Yeah.
And it's skewed because, first of all, the research shows it doesn't make you happy. Deep connections and relationships make you happy. And then on top of that, like, it's not what you espouse. Like, if you always talk about trying to be a deep person and connected, and you always fail. Like, I fail in that regard. I always say I want to be someone who is a really good brother, a really good friend, a really good boyfriend, whatever it is. But like, there's a ton of measures in which I probably do a very poor job of it.
Yeah, but it's, I think, most importantly, realizing it, or it's not even realizing. Like, you probably also think less of yourself sometimes just because you're a person and people, shit on themselves. But it's more just like being receptive of other people and knowing what it is like other people want, not so much want, but more like what is something that, like, when you think, like, what would make them comfortable, or like being more thoughtful, I think is the biggest part in relationships. But I was going to say, I was talking to my rabbi a couple months ago, and we were talking about just like life and how how I would want to be as a person. And one of the things he's told me, he said, write down, make a ranking from most important to least important. Like, rank family, like, what is your ranking of like most important, least important? Sorry, confusion, but that's basically what he told me. And for me, obviously, it was like family and friends first, myself second, health, and then it was like something in like career and something. It was like on the bottom. And he said, that's so interesting because most people would say this. Most people would say your family and friends are most important. Then you have like your health and, being there for yourself and, self-care and all that. And then you have like career. But in reality, we spend so much more time on our career and ourselves and what we should be doing and how we're going to, provide for ourselves, which is important, but we spend marginally more time on that than we do on ourselves or with our family and friends. And it's like, there's such a disparity between what we say is important, like you just said, what we say is important and what we actually act on. And it's like, no one's saying, go live in the forest with your family and no one has to work and live off the land. But it's like, where is there that balance where it's like, I can have that time, like I always say for him, like for Ari, it's like whenever he's having a day where he's like, I just want to relax, but I can't seem to relax. It's like, sometimes it's okay to take a day. And if you're going to take the day, take it, don't say, oh, my mind's, have your mind somewhere while you're resting. It's like, it's important to have those days for yourself and being there for yourself. This is what I mean by being kind to yourself. It's like giving yourself a day, giving yourself time, meaningful time to be with family and being with friends, like away from your phone and just speaking and being there, being present. Presence is such an important part, I think, of self-growth. Another YouTuber I watch, sorry, it's going off on a tangent, but this other, I forget her name and I don't want to butcher it, but she was talking about like spirituality and all this. And one of the things is like, presence is the most important way to show up for yourself. And it's like, I think presence brings you back to who you are and like who you are and what you should be doing all the time. Like being present in like moments of like, even right now when we're doing podcasts, it's like my mind is in this podcast. I'm doing this right now. I'm talking about this. I'm not thinking about what I have to do tomorrow or dinner tonight or, it's like, I think that's the best way, one of the best ways to connect with yourself. You can interject. I feel like when you don't interject, I keep talking.
I like it though. I like it. There's a lot of wisdom because I feel like I'm always distracted, and sometimes that meaning hierarchy that you were talking about is a difficult one for me. I think it's tough because when you're working on a startup, it's like your baby. It's like sort of your world in a way. It's hard to find that balance for how to accommodate everything. I
think sometimes it makes sense that things will take more time when you're growing something. Like right now, this is something that mainly you are figuring out, and that's okay. That is something that you're dealing with, and thankfully you really only have your parents and me to deal with, and I'm okay when you marginalize me and put me on the silence. I'm just kidding. He's very much there for me. But I mean, in the sense of like, you don't have kids or anything that you have to take care of, a mortgage. So it's like, you can have that time. But I mean, in the sense of like, when you do take a day off, take that day off.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you don't have to be like from 5 to 9, I'm going to, you know, it's like sometimes you do have to pull all-nighters or work until 12 and put in that grind. But it's like when you give yourself that time to relax, when you give yourself that moment, give yourself that moment. Don't say, I'm going to give it and then go on your phone or think about this or think about that, write some notes. It's like, give yourself that mental space. I think that's what's like a lot of the time. I just know for you, because you struggle with this a lot, is like when you go on walks, and it's like sometimes, it's good to listen to a podcast and whatever, think, but sometimes it's okay to put your headphones on and you do this. Like, take your headphones off and just be. Yeah. Listen to the birds, breathe, whatever. I know that's stupid sometimes. It's like, oh, I'm just going to breathe and walk. But it's like, try and practice to turn off your brain. That's basically what meditation is. It's trying to not turn off your brain, but realize like how much shit's in there and how can you just
silence it,
soften it even. Yeah. Just like chill out, you know? And it's hard. It's a hard thing to do, especially with Instagram on your pocket all the time, or just like the infinite amount of shit that you can look at and watch. And it's like, obviously we have attention span problems, but it's all about practice, all about working. And sometimes I think people think like the grind is like, got to work every day and work out. But sometimes the grind is stopping for a second and like taking that time to, you know, realize what is it that I'm thinking all the time and what am I really giving my mental energy to. I think that's a big part of it, and people don't realize it because it's not like flashy and cool, where it's like, you know, I'm so excited to just like work on this for like 12 hours. It's like, work on yourself for 12 hours. Sure. Even though that's like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, that's smart, but sometimes I'm like, that's kind of stupid.
No, I like it. And I think on that note, I think it's good. You know what? It's Friday right now. It's a decent time. Shabbos is coming up. It'll be good.
Shalom to our Jews, or even non-Jews. Shalom.
And it's just like, unplug. We'll take this time. We'll finish off at a decent time today.
You're gonna
we'll
end it on me a whole thing.
I like
I feel like I was talking so much.
No, not at all. Okay. No, it was a good note about being present.
Yeah,
about
present. Take your
taking your time, enjoying yourself, and not feeling like you have to squeeze everything in and be super efficient. And so we'll be able to arrive at the weekend and Friday and just mind out.
Mind out.
Or get mindless for a couple of hours early.
But just like, just
be present and being more relaxed, not having all the work obligations.
Just being in the moment of this is what I'm in.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing.
And I'm done. I'm going to embrace that. Cool. And you guys should too. And we're just going to chill out. And enjoy a good Shabbos meal. So have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend, even though this is probably not going to be released today.
That's true.
But have a good week or day or whatever.
Yeah.
Enjoy your time.
I'll see you next time at Idiots Crossing. Yeah.
What are you?